things. We wrestle with all sorts of things in sports and entertainment. And now, here are your hosts, David and Sammy Joseph.
Everybody knows that WrestleMania is the Super Bowl of professional wrestling. It is the NBA Finals. It is the World Series. It is the biggest stage in professional wrestling. And about almost every year or every other year, Sammy, I'd say at WrestleMania, WWE always seems to have that celebrity attraction match. You know, they had Floyd Mayweather. They've had, you know, musicians in the past like Snoop Dogg, of course, and Machine Gun Kelly. But, you know, recently there seems to be an uptick in rappers or musicians wanting to do business with WWE. Bad Bunny seems to be here for WrestleMania. He's clearly building up to a WrestleMania match. That's going to be the celebrity crossover match this year. And then Cardi B was name dropped on an episode, and then on Twitter she was, you know, interacting with some of the wrestlers like Tori Wilson and Melina. And then Bow Wow just recently tweeted that, you know, he's in the middle of composing his final album and he'd like a run with WWE. He's liked WWE since he was a kid. So, Sammy, what do you think about all these rappers crossing over and wanting to do business with WWE? And do you think it's beneficial for both sides? And do you think there's an avenue for Bow Wow and Cardi B to, you know, spice things up and, you know, cross things over and get a good appearance out of it?
Well, yeah, I think if the Bad Bunny thing is definitely smart business, because he's definitely making a big splash right now as we speak in the industry. But he's had a couple hits so far that have been like through the roof, and so is Cardi B. Cardi B's been on a roll for a very, very long time now. I would say about 3-4 years now. She's been on a roll with the hits. She's been on a roll with her personality. So she's been basically everywhere in movies all over the place. So if those are the calls that they want to make, I definitely say let's green light it. Let's make those calls happen. I'm not so sure about Bow Wow though. I'm not so sure. I think they might want to leave that one alone. You know, only because he's just not as relevant today. You know, if we was talking about, you know, maybe 15 years ago, then yeah, that would be the perfect call to make. But I'm not sure about today if they should use a Bow Wow. But definitely for Cardi B, definitely for Bad Bunny.
Yeah, I think you make a good point as far as relevance in 2021. Cardi B is arguably the most relevant female rapper. Yeah. And Bad Bunny, I don't know his music personally, but I do know that he's one of the hottest streamed, you know, artists on YouTube, on Spotify and streaming platforms. He's a big deal in the Latin and Hispanic community. So the fact that, and he's a real fan at heart, so the fact that they're using him right now, especially for like a rookie like Damian Priest, I think that's a smart way to use him. He's getting the rub. Damian Priest is Hispanic. Bad Bunny's Hispanic. So it makes sense, yo. So he's getting that boost by being associated with Bad Bunny and storyline. And get this, it just was reported Bad Bunny's only appeared about 2 to 3 times now. They're making merchandise with him. Bad Bunny has bought in over 500K of merchandise already, and we're not even to WrestleMania yet. So these are the type of impacts that you know these crossover has, and you know I think it helps WWE get back that, you know, that 17 to 30 demographic, 35 demographic more, because, you know, let's be honest, that's the demographic that follows hip hop for the most part, you know, and I think, you know, bringing in rappers, especially in a pandemic when these rappers can't tour, it's a good way to, you know, maybe keep their music out there, get their music out there, get that extra exposure. And it's a way for the rappers to get new fans. Oh, I could get these wrestling fans to like my songs. And you get on the wrestling side, it's a way to get new eyes on the product that are fans of Cardi B and Bad Bunny. So I would be all for Cardi B finding a way to get her in. There's also reports that they're trying to get that Latin audience back, and I think that helps their cause. Now, I slightly disagree with you with my man Bow Wow. He isn't relevant from a music standpoint, but as far as a cultural standpoint, his name has value, man. And the WWE to me is the land when your name still has value, when your name is still in its prime, when your brand is in its prime, that counts almost as much as anything. So I think, let's say hypothetically speaking, if they got Bow Wow a part of the Hurt Business in some way or something crazy like that, some type of segment, I think he could pull it off.
I just don't see how it would make people, want to see him. You know what I mean? It's all about who the people really are dying for nowadays, and that's what WWE's been good at dictating. You know what I mean? If the people are really screaming for this person, let's see what he can do over here, and let's see him bring that type of stuff over here. The people go crazy for Cardi B. We already know this. You know what I mean? Bad Bunny, like I said, he's been making a huge splash since he came out of nowhere with his Mia song and everything. So those are the people that people are really going to change the channel for. Those are the people that people are really going to cross over and say, hey, let's see what's going on over here. I see my favorite artist on the screen. Bow Wow is not a favorite for anybody right now. And that's the only reason why I would say let's just leave that part alone. You know what I mean? Maybe you could use it for a quick 2-minute segment or something like that, or like a quick little cameo. But let's just leave that alone. Let's not try to make a program out of it.
Yeah, I hear you. I definitely hear you with that. I think as far as effectiveness, Cardi B and Bad Bunny would be 10 times more effective. I think Bad Bunny's been really effective so far, and Cardi B, honestly, I don't even think she would need to do much. She should do a song or two at like the halftime of a pay-per-view event and get into some promo and slap somebody, and people would buy it. People would turn in. People would go crazy. It'd be all over memes and everything.
Those are the people you create programs with. You know what I mean? Like, you do little, tag team / things with. Those are the people you waste segments on.
You need to tell me those girls, all these girls that are now in their early 20s, 18, 19, 20, 25. They were Bow Wow fans when they were little girls. And women watch wrestling now. You need to tell me women that were little Bow Wow fans weren't go crazy for seeing him perform his throwbacks at least. His throwbacks like we're playing basketball or let me hold you. You don't think the women's segment, the demographic that are already watching wrestling, the women won't have a splash of nostalgia from seeing little Bow Wow, who's now grown on WWE.
In 2021, he doesn't deserve more than 5 minutes.
Ah, man, you didn't answer the question, man. The women would eat it up. I think they would still eat it up.
I don't think they would in 2021.
Yes.
Not in 2021. In 2010, maybe. They would eat it up.
Sammy, when we're not in a pandemic and he does do performances, the arena's still mostly filled, and that's him singing his throwbacks. Of course, he doesn't have relevancy in popping music now, but Bow Wow's the type of artist, he sings his throwbacks, his favorites, and he can live off of that forever, like him or hate him.
Oh yeah, he could still gain currency off of it. Don't get me wrong. He could still get money off of throwbacks. But if you're we're talking about a WrestleMania right now. You know what I mean? If we're talking about like a WrestleMania, you don't want to put somebody irrelevant like Bow Wow in your performance act, in your performance side of the show. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, we're talking about a huge portion that is going to be watching this. We're talking about a huge portion that could possibly be in the crowd. So you got to give them somebody who's going to be able to make that whole arena, you know what I mean, get excited, get amped, and that's what Cardi B comes in. You know what I mean? That's where the relevant people come in. But in a segment in the back show, oh yeah, give them 5 minutes. For sure.
Man, it's gonna be interesting to see. Hopefully, they could get that Cardi B, and who knows? I'm hoping they get the Weeknd because I know one of his songs is the WrestleMania theme song for the whole show, and Blinding Lights was the theme song for WrestleMania last year. So if they could get him. I don't think he needs a storyline. I'm just saying I would like him to do a performance because his halftime at the Super Bowl was crazy to me. Those that saying they didn't like it, I'm sorry. I don't believe you. I don't believe you didn't like that. What was there to dislike about it? The production was on point. His voice is always on point. He picked the right songs. He mixed it up. The backstage dances were great. People just dislike things for fun, man. I don't see what you could have disliked about that halftime performance. What you think about it, Sammy? On another note,
no, that was a very good performance. Weeknd, since he's got here, has always been a great performer and a great, artist. He always knows what to give the people. He always knows how to hit his notes. You know what I mean? He always knows how to sing along with the song and the beat. He's always been a A+ performer in my book. I was just confused about the whole facial thing, but other than that, nothing else bothered me. I can't believe he's going Michael Jackson with the whole thing. Like he's changing his nose and everything. That part wasn't off to you?
I really didn't pay much attention to that. I
thought it was fake because I thought it was fake when people first said that's what he looks like now, but once I actually seen him at the Super Bowl, I was like, wow, he's really trying to go Michael Jackson.
It's part of the persona he's crafting, I believe, with his last project he did. He's kind of like doing personas with his albums. It's something creative that I think he does. But
so it is like a Michael 2.0.
Somewhat. I don't think to my knowledge, I don't think he did any surgery like Mike. Or anything like that.
His nose and his lips look different now.
I'm not sure, but I haven't heard anything about that. He could have. I feel like people would be blowing it up if he did do something like that. But before we end off on this note, MVP in the Hurt Business did some music with Griselda and West Side Gun. I think if there's a very relevant, group of rap hip hop artists to come in, that would be a great get right there if they were able to perform in any sort of capacity. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I think I don't think that would be a move that they would go for. Only because the music's a little too.
It's too good.
It's too violent, and there's too many curses. WWE. They have to remain pop for now.
Of course,
because of the PG effect of things.
If they were to make any sort of appearance, I feel like it would probably be like either a segment or they would just perform that entrance theme for the Hurt Business. I don't think they would perform any of their real tracks. They are too adult, but I think that would be the coolest appearance you could do right now because
it would be cool if they can get them at least to come down the stage with them.
Yeah, something like that. Sing them down the stage or have them be in the front row, something like that. I think for the culture, that would be huge. That would definitely get more of the black culture that are hip hop fans to tune into wrestling.
I'd love that move. I would love that. Let them just come down the stage, be their hype man or something like that. You know what I mean? WWE has to make this WrestleMania feel like a WrestleMania. They owe it from last year.
And I think they will. You'll have 22,000 fans. I think I don't think we're back to normal, but it seems like we're finally at that halfway mark to maybe going back to normal with live events.
I hope so. because last year it still has a bad taste in my mouth. A very, very bad taste in my mouth.
It does have a bad taste because that was the beginning of it. They were in a completely empty. They didn't even have their wrestlers in the crowd. It was a completely empty performance center. Like it was weird, man. It's like everything echoed. Everything was silent. But they did the best they could.
They didn't have the sound effects yet. They didn't
even have the virtual fans. It was just empty.
And then they had to do a couple of those fake movies and stuff. Like, come on, man.
You don't like the cinematic matches, man?
I never liked it, man.
Oh man, that's a topic for another day.
I'm consistent. I was against it from number one.
They make sense when you have no fans. You got to perform for cinema, not for live audience. And it saves the body of old guys like Undertaker with the boneyard and everything.
It doesn't feel like wrestling. It just doesn't feel like wrestling. What wrestling is supposed to be.
Man, wrestling is cinema in a way. It's theater.
It's theater, but it's theater in a sports type of craft. You know what I mean? You still got to make it feel like a big fight field and a big fight. You know what I mean? That AJ thing didn't feel like a big fight field because they were just trying to shoot.
It's like sports theater, man. They had to give us something creative the way things were last year. They had to. I don't expect to get any cinematic matches this year because they have fans.
That's exactly where I'm getting at. I just don't want to see it again. I don't want to see it. I really don't want to. I don't want to see it anymore. You know what I mean? Let fights feel like big fights and let them be settled in the ring. You know what I mean? Let them do some type of effect in the ring. Don't shoot it like the actual movie scene when you're getting a fake house.
I like that, man. Undertaker was breaking them through the house and making fire come up. He did it all.
He just showed up from miles away or something, and then left the fight in the mud.
I feel you, dog. I definitely feel you. I wish in a perfect world. I believe Undertaker was he says he trained real hard to get in shape for a 20-minute match because he didn't know that was going to happen. I believe I think AJ would have pulled the great match out of him had they got that. He looked in shape and he trained really hard. I wish we got to see that. If that's really going to be his last match, I wish it was in a ring. I agree with that.
But that's what upsetted me so much. I trust AJ so much to squeeze something out of him in that square circle. They could have made it no holds barred and just let Undertaker swing weapons all day long, and then have AJ do most of the work around him. That's how I feel like the last match should have went. But you know what I mean? It's too late now. We're forever gonna look at this dude in that bad light, like in that bad go out. They try to act like it was great, but
it was great.
It really wasn't great.
I think when you take the totality of the what it was, that was a great spectacle, man. It was a great larger than life spectacle. But I would have liked it to been in the ring if it was gonna be his last match. It just makes sense.
It's too late now, and I accept it, honestly.
I accepted in Undertaker's case. I mean, we gave him so many years.
It's the same thing I say when it comes to Cena.
It's not the same thing. Undertaker's given 30 years. Cena still got a lot left in the tank.
No, but not in terms of the passion and the want to.
Oh man,
I think that's over. You know what I mean? But when you look at what he's doing in the Hollywood world now, I think that's the new drive. That's the new, you know what I mean? That's the new passion that we're gonna get from Cena. We have to enjoy Cena in this type of world now. He already gave us way too much in the Super Cena world.
I'm gonna tell you this right now, man. If he doesn't show up at WrestleMania, that's a big hit. And I'm usually optimistic about these things, but John Cena. But if he doesn't show up, that's a big deal and that's a big hit, bro. He would have led them on to think he's a lock just to not show up and do anything. I think he needs to show up. He owes us this from last year.
But I don't think he led them on. I think that was just speculation.
Nah, it sounded like some very high level people knew what they were talking about.
That's media, though. That's not Cena. Unless Cena comes out on a camera and says, "Hey, I'm going to be there and I'm going to fight," I'm not gonna believe.
He never does that anymore, though.
But that's why I'm saying we have to accept the fact that we're going to not see this guy. We have to accept it.
I might consider boycotting, man, if he doesn't show up.
And why would you even say that? Why would you even say that's a hit for Cena's legacy? Like Cena has.
I didn't say it's a hit for his legacy. I think that's a hit. That's doing WrestleMania a little dirty. You know, they got live fans. If I'm Cena, I'm thinking, man, I know the pandemic came out of nowhere last year. It was nobody's fault, but man, I know I got all these projects, but let me go out of my way to at least show up at WrestleMania because there will be fans.
For what? I already done so much.
For what? To do business and help the young guys, help the fresher talent get the rub by beating you.
You didn't do that already? Look at all the young guys that.
Not enough. It wasn't enough, bro.
Look at all the top young guys.
Do the favors for Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, but come on, that happened already. Look at
it didn't.
Look at all the guys we see in the top driver's seat positions right now. Cena has jobbed for all of them. Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Bray Wyatt, he's jobbed for all of them. AJ Styles, Daniel.
I don't count the Roman Reigns, but I understand what you're saying. He worked with all of them.
He jobbed and worked with all of them and made them all look great.
This different type of work to be done now.
No, he's done enough.
A win over Cena at WrestleMania? None of them have done that. That makes you a whole lot irrelevant with everybody else, man.
It doesn't have to be that now. It's their job now to be the Cena. Somebody has to now be the new Cena. Because Cena already jobbed for them.
Yeah, Roman finally is performing up to his stature. Finally.
Roman, he's doing great things. But even him, he still doesn't give us that Cena presence.
I disagree. I would never compare him to Cena, but I think he's finally giving that those performances where everything he does on television matters. I would say that he's finally giving must-see performances, but I would never compare him to Cena. It's not fair.
I'm just talking about the presence, the face of the company presence.
He's getting there finally.
You know what I mean? The guy who's getting marketed everywhere. You know what I mean? He still doesn't give us that presence. It's somebody needs to step up and get in that presence so that you don't even need Cena.
Well, I think part of that is because he's a heel, and rightfully so. I think he should be.
Even when he was a face, he didn't give us the presence.
Because he wasn't ready to be that type of face at the time. What he is now makes more sense. I honestly think the formula for face of the company in the modern era is you have to be a great bad guy to the point where they want to cheer you. It's weird, but that's where we're at now. I think he had to be this way. He couldn't be eat your vitamins and say your prayers. The new way to model a top guy, a tippy top guy, is you got to be so bad that you're good.
Exactly, and that's why I think he's still missing that presence. That's why I think he's still missing that presence because he's doing the whole
backward
thing backwards.
You have to. This is where we're at.
We already seen him F up as a face. Now we're finally enjoying this, this bad guy thing. And it's gonna take us a while to, grow with him all over again.
And that's okay.
And that's what I'm saying. We're still missing someone to put these shoes on.